Well, for me, a great vintage is a vintage that remains on the top shelf up to 20, 30 years. So right now it's easy to tell it will be great, but it's really tough, or to guess what it will be in the future. I can tell you 74 was a great vintage, 78, 82, 89, 90, because after 24 years they are still as good as we were considering at the beginning. So I think 2010, because of the characteristic of wine, will be probably one of the best vintage considered the first 10 or the first decade of 2000. Close to 2008, probably better than 2008 because I find more elegance and balance in 2010. Then it depends, because if you love tannin, you have 06. Or if you love more fruit and fatness, the odd were really good, 7, 9, and 11. I'm pretty amazed by the vintage. For me, we can consider it as one of a really, really good vintage. But because in 2010 I started a new, way of conducting my vineyards. It's the first year that I started to experiment biodynamic on the wines, on the vineyards, sorry. And the reason of this is because my goal is to have the terroir expression as maximum as I can, and I think the organic, but then the biodynamic approach helps me to subline the difference. So what I found great in this vintage is that you can taste my 4 cru, and you will see that there's a really, really, really big step between one or the other. And I'm not talking about quality, but expression of tannins, aromas that are really different, and you can really start to understand why a vineyard from Serralunga has a name and is considered, a single vineyard. Well, my 4 crus are, as you said, Brunate, Prapò, Briccorocche, and Cannubi. Actually, in the past, I was always trying to understand or to classify and to see what was the best. I can tell you what I prefer now, but I cannot tell you what it will be the best because probably tasting my wines, well, actually already this is the 16th harvest that I'm doing here at Ceretto. But I can tell you what I love about terroir is the expression and the diversity. It's like when you meet people. There is one that is more open to you, one is more, nice, and the other one is probably more rude. And this is what I like in the wines. So normally you get elegance and finesse from Brunate, and you get power and structure and concentration from Prapò. And then because Brunate is the opposite to Prapò, and you have Cannubi and then Briccorocche in the middle, you can see that these expressions are slightly different, but you can find a path through this terroir. So moving from the elegance of Brunate, going into elegance and complexity in Cannubi, you start to see more tanning and a really complexity in the aroma in Briccorocche, and then you go on the structure, on the power of the terroir of Serralunga, that is Prapò.